So I was at the car wash yesterday, waiting in that little lounge area they have, where you can watch your car go through the machine, and they had a TV mounted on the wall playing ESPN, like most places do. I was just sitting there killing time scrolling through my phone when I noticed the First Take graphics pop up on screen and saw that Hugh Jackman was on the panel as a special guest. Now, I know Hugh Jackman is primarily known for his acting career and being Wolverine, but apparently he's become a massive football fan since spending so much time in Los Angeles filming movies, and he's developed a real affinity for the Rams over the years. When they started discussing potential defensive moves for LA this offseason, including the possibility of signing Hassan Reic, Hugh Jackman got so animated and passionate that the other people waiting for their cars started gathering around the TV to watch. It turned into this unexpected communal viewing experience at a random car wash, and honestly, it was one of the most entertaining First Take segments I've seen in a while. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we dive into everything I have for you today, I need to share something real with you that would mean the absolute world to me. That subscribe button right there. Hitting it right now would bring me one step closer to my dream of reaching 1,000 subscribers. I know you're eager to get into all this content, but real quick, just smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It's such a simple thing. It takes literally 1 second, but it's honestly the biggest way you can support this journey and help me reach that milestone. Trust me, every single subscription gets me closer to that goal. And honestly, it would mean everything to me. So, do me that quick favor right now and be part of this dream becoming reality. COULDN, the whole segment started with the First Take panel breaking down potential moves for the Los Angeles Rams this offseason, beginning with some of the offensive targets that have been floated as possibilities. They talked about George Pickens from the Dallas Cowboys and how the Cowboys are expected to franchise tag him in the next week or so, with Stephen Jones saying they think the world of him and want him to stay. The analysts discussed how a trade for Pickens would likely cost the Rams their 29th overall pick, and that he'd come with a franchise tag salary of around $28 million, which would eat up significant cap space. Stephen A. Smith was saying that while Pickens had an incredible season with 93 receptions for 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns with just 4 drops, the Cowboys probably aren't going to let him go because they want to keep him paired with CeeDee Lamb for years to come. Hugh Jackman jumped into the conversation early because he's been following the Rams closely and has opinions about what the team needs. He started by saying that while adding another receiver would be nice, he's more concerned about the defensive side of the ball because that's where championship teams are built. Hugh mentioned that he's watched enough Rams games to know that the pass rush can be inconsistent at times, and that adding a proven edge rusher would do more to improve the team's chances than any offensive acquisition. This is when the conversation started shifting toward defensive targets. The analysts then brought up Trey Hendrickson as a potential free agent signing, noting that it seems very unlikely he's going to return to Cincinnati because the Bengals are cap-strapped and the relationship appears to be heading for a divorce. They showed his stats from the past few seasons, highlighting that he had 35 sacks combined in 2023 and 2024, which led the NFL during that span. Shannon Sharpe suggested that the Rams could potentially sign Hendrickson for around 1 year and $21 million, with $17 million guaranteed, which would be surprisingly affordable for a player of his caliber. Hugh Jackman was intrigued by the Hendrickson idea, but then asked the panel about other edge rushers who might be available, saying he's heard some buzz about Hassan Reic and wondering whether he would be a good fit for the Rams. This is when the conversation really took off, because the analysts had clearly done their homework on Reic and had a lot to say about why he could be the perfect addition for Los Angeles. Stephen A. Smith started breaking down Reic's profile, describing him as a veteran edge rusher who signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2025 and has multiple seasons of production with significant sacks and quarterback pressure on his resume. He mentioned that Reic has consistently been one of the more productive pass rushers in the league over the past several years, with multiple double-digit sack seasons that demonstrate his ability to get after the quarterback at an elite level. The analysts showed clips of Reic coming off the edge with explosive first steps, bending around tackles, and finishing plays with quarterback takedowns that changed the momentum of games. Hugh Jackman was getting excited watching the highlights because he could see exactly what Reic would bring to the Rams' defense. He started talking about how the team needs someone who can consistently pressure the quarterback without relying on blitzes, someone who can win one-on-one matchups against offensive tackles and collapse the pocket from the edge. Hugh mentioned that when he watches the Rams play, he notices that too often the opposing quarterback has time to sit in the pocket and pick apart the coverage, and that adding a pass rusher like Reic would force quarterbacks to make quicker decisions and create more opportunities for turnovers. The First Take panel then broke down the specific reasons why Reic makes sense for the Rams at this point in his career. The first point they made was about his ability to generate consistent pressure on the quarterback, which is essential for any team that wants to compete for championships. Shannon Sharpe talked about how, in today's NFL, you absolutely have to be able to get to the quarterback if you want to stop explosive passing offenses, and that Reic has proven throughout his career that he can do that at a high level. They mentioned that his combination of speed, power, and technique makes him difficult for offensive tackles to block, and that he'd immediately upgrade the Rams' pass rush. Hugh Jackman made an interesting observation about how the best defenses he's watched all have that dominant edge presence that makes opposing offenses uncomfortable. He compared it to acting, saying that great performances come from creating tension and pressure, and that Reic brings that kind of tension to every snap because offensive coordinators have to account for him in their protection schemes. Hugh suggested that adding Reic would change the entire dynamic of the Rams' defense because it would free up other players to make plays when the offense is focused on blocking him. The discussion then turned to the leadership aspect of potentially signing Reic, and the analysts made the point that he brings more than just production on the field. They talked about how his experience and veteran presence would be valuable for a Rams defensive line that is still evolving and developing. Stephen A. mentioned that young pass rushers can learn a lot from watching how a proven veteran like Reic prepares, practices, and approaches games, and that having that kind of mentor in the building would accelerate the development of the entire defensive front. Hugh Jackman agreed completely and started talking about how important leadership is in any competitive environment. He mentioned that in his experience on film sets and Broadway productions, the most successful projects are always the ones where there are veteran performers who set the standard and show the younger cast members what it takes to succeed at the highest level. Hugh suggested that Reic would bring that same kind of leadership to the Rams' locker room and that his presence would elevate everyone around him. The First Take panel also addressed Reic's tactical versatility and how he could be used in Sean McVay and the defensive coordinator's schemes. They talked about how Reic isn't just a pure edge rusher who can only do one thing, but rather a versatile player who can line up in different positions and be effective in various defensive packages. The analysts mentioned that he can rush from a three-point stance as a traditional defensive end, or he can stand up and blitz from different angles as a linebacker, which gives coordinators flexibility in how they design their pressure packages. Shannon Sharpe made the point that this versatility is incredibly valuable in today's NFL, where offenses are constantly trying to create mismatches and confuse defenses with their formations and personnel groupings. He suggested that having a player like Reic, who can adapt to different situations and be effective regardless of where he's lined up, makes the defense more unpredictable and harder to game plan against. The panel showed some clips of Reic lining up in different spots and creating pressure from various angles, demonstrating his ability to contribute in multiple ways. Hugh Jackman loved hearing about the versatility because he's learned enough about football to appreciate how important it is to keep offenses guessing. He talked about how the element of surprise is powerful in any competitive situation, and that having a player who can line up in different places and attack from different angles creates uncertainty that benefits the entire defense. Hugh suggested that Reic's versatility would complement whatever else the Rams have on their defensive line, and would make the unit as a whole more effective. The discussion then shifted to the practical considerations of how the Rams could potentially sign Reic in free agency. The analysts talked about the salary cap implications and what kind of contract Reic might command on the open market. They mentioned that while Reic is a proven producer, he's also at a point in his career where teams might be hesitant to offer a long-term deal, which could work in the Rams' favor if they're looking for a shorter commitment with less guaranteed money. Stephen A. suggested that a 1- or 2-year deal with incentives based on sack production could be an attractive option for both sides. Hugh Jackman asked about whether the Rams have the cap space to make a signing like this, and the analysts confirmed that while LA isn't flush with money, they have enough flexibility to bring in a quality free agent if they prioritize it. They mentioned that the Rams have shown a willingness to be aggressive when they see opportunities to add difference makers, pointing to past acquisitions that have helped the team compete for championships. The panel suggested that signing Reic would be exactly the kind of move that signals the organization is serious about winning now. The First Take panel also compared the Reic option to some of the other defensive targets that have been discussed for the Rams. They mentioned Jordan Addison as a potential trade target, but noted that his off-field issues have piled up with arrests in 2023, 2024, and 2026 for various incidents, including reckless driving, DUI suspicion, and trespassing. The analysts were divided on whether the Rams should take a chance on Addison given his talent, but acknowledged that there are legitimate concerns about bringing in a player with that kind of baggage.